Oh no. This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. It sucks.
Sucks.
You can't have two click tracks. Welcome back. This is a This List. This is a This List Sucks bonus episode. Thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. I'm JB.
I'm Mike, and we're
Mike.
separated, but yeah, but still trying to make this thing work. And we appreciate you sticking with us through this bonus episode this week. And yeah, going to talk about some Fleet Foxes.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we are currently going through our snub list that we detailed in an episode. I think it was episode 11 or 12. It was around Christmas time. We did an episode about songs that were snubbed from Rolling Stone's list of the greatest 500 albums of all time. And one of the notable snubs was every single Fleet Foxes record was left off of the list. So we've taken it upon ourselves to go into all of the records that were snubbed off of this. That includes every Fleet Foxes record. So we started with Fleet Foxes' debut record, which is called Fleet Foxes and was released in 2008. Yeah, exactly. So, had you listened to this record a whole lot, Mike, before this?
I wouldn't say that I listen. I mean, I probably listened to this record between 5 and 10 times.
Really?
Point in time, and the first time that I got exposed to Fleet was through a friend of the show, Lee Stamper. Lee Stamper is a tremendously huge fan of Fleet Foxes, and he turned me on to Fleet Foxes. It's probably 5 or 6 years ago was the first time that he started talking to me about Fleet Foxes, maybe even longer than that. And so I dug into this album as well as there's an album, Helplessness Blues, and yeah. So familiar with it. It's not one of those albums that I didn't go nearly as deep into this well as he did, because he spent a ton of times with these first two albums before he released Cracked Up and Shore. But yeah, really good. How about you?
And for those wondering, that is Lee Stamper of onlylee.com. So, no, I had never listened to this one before. I've listened to some Fleet Foxes, namely the EP with Mykonos on it, which is a fucking fantastic song. But yeah, this is great, man. So a lot of these songs, this is my first listen through on this, and it's really, really fantastic. For me, it sounds a lot like a folk version of My Morning Jacket. Am I crazy in saying that?
No, I don't think that you're crazy to say that, with the lone exception harmonies, right?
Yeah,
because
there's definitely
with
more
My Morning
harmonies.
Jacket, My Morning Jacket, you get Jim James, and Jim James is wonderful, and they play with layers of his voice on My Morning Jacket. But here you get some, in my mind, you get some Beach Boys harmonies on Fleet Foxes, particularly on this album.
Yeah. Oh, so are the future albums not as heavy on the harmonies as this one is?
Well, Blues, which is the next album that we'll get to whenever we circle back around to Fleet Foxes, that one is also pretty harmony rich like this one. But there's a big gap. There's like a 6-year gap between Helplessness Blues and then Cracked Up, which was the next LP. And Cracked Up, I think they're starting to move away from that. It's definitely a more mature sound, more developed sound. It's less so dominated by folk sound yet on this, like what you on Helplessness Blues. But you know, if you think
Was
about the
Cracked Up the new
contemporaries
one?
of this, um, say that one more time.
Was Cracked Up their brand new one? That I know they released a new one in 2020.
So 2024 was released, and Cracked Up was an album that
Okay.
was released in 2017. Yeah. So, but especially as a debut album, you know, and we talked about this a little bit during the regular episode. This album, to me, it's so rich in storytelling, um, and storytelling the most dramatic possible way, I guess, is the best way that I could explain it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Yeah, dramatic. There were some real standout tunes on here for me. And just like you said, it's a lot of storytelling. The lead singer, he's definitely, you can tell he's a storyteller, and he was who I was referencing when I was talking about the My Morning Jacket. The lead singer of this band, his voice sounds strikingly similar to Jim James to me. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know, but it sounds like a full version of Jim James. But there were some seriously standout tunes. For me, the high point of the album was tracks 2 through 4. I loved White Winter Hymnal. I loved Ragged Wood. Really, really, really loved Ragged Wood, and I loved Tiger Mountain Peasant
Hmm.
Song. Um, and then from there on, it was great. It was really, really good. Don't get me wrong, but those were my highlights. I also thought Your Protector was the highlight. The whole record was really good. Don't get me wrong. I'm a fan. I'm sold. This should be on the fucking list. It's a definite snub, but that was the high point for me.
Yeah, and I like listen I'm there with you because you know, again, like the songs that I starred all of these stars, White Winter Hemwood, and then Tiger Mountain Peasant songs. So that's your basically your 2, 3, 4 tracks on the album. I
Yes.
also loved He Doesn't Know Why because there's this crazy refrain that takes place, and that's like that that's the one thing that really with Fleet Foxes is this is as folksy as it gets. So if you say to me, Mike, I hate this, and I really hate Dylan's folky crap. Yeah, right? Like don't ever give this thing. But any part of you that even remotely enjoys the stirrings of folk music, then I would tell you, like, it's 39 minutes. Listen to the whole thing. But you know, my thing, one song, right? If you're just gonna listen to one song, and even though 2 through 5 are super love, he doesn't know why, and that bizarre refrain that happens in there. To me, if you're only gonna do one, you're gonna do Your Protector, and Your Protector starts off as like this very kind of traditional folky type song, but the chorus
With
on
flute.
Your Protector, dude, yes, the flute on Your Protector is a real standout. But I think Your Protector is the best showcase of how powerful Robin Pecknold's voice can be when he wants it to be really big, you know.
Yes. And a really fantastic chord progression. Like the chorus on that. I just love that. Your Protector was a real highlight for me. But for me, if you're gonna listen to one, I have a hard time not saying Ragged Wood. But I think that Your Protector is a fair option as well. But
I'm with you.
those are both good options. But you really, it's a pretty short record. You should probably just listen to the whole thing. This one, I mean, this band for sure belongs on the list. And you know what really pisses me off is, so this band for me is kind of like the folky, almost, it's folk rock obviously, but it has that kind of wintry vibe to it, which is what I also use to describe Bon Iver.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck Bon Iver. Take that shit off the list. Put this in place of Bon Iver. You know, dude,
Yes,
100% all the way
yes. I
to be on there
yeah.
instead of Bon Iver.
Every listen, 100% fuck me there and replace this album with. I mean, yeah, and that's the easiest one for one trade off that I think you could make about. And granted, we've only been doing this for a couple of weeks. We only listened to a Tool record, but as we continue on down the snub list, I think there's. I don't know that there's ever going to be quite as clear a trade off as yeah, fuck that. And this is kind of along the same vein, but it's so much better. So let's put this in instead.
Yes.
That's
And
brilliant.
it just, yep. And I remember that one of the things that was so annoying to me was about the Bon Iver was the falsetto he was doing. There's a lot of falsetto on this record, and I loved it. So it turns out it was just Bon Iver. It wasn't anything about the actual style. So yeah, just like you said, it's the easiest one for one we've seen so far.
Yeah, and also with Bon Iver, just there's nothing that's not auto-tuned on Bon Iver, and listen, I don't know this for certain. I wasn't in the engineering room, but I don't think that there's any auto-tune on the record, and to me, it's very, listen, it's very folksy, right? Like it's very pseudo stripped down. I mean, I'd love completely stripped down, but there's a lot of high quality production that goes into this album, but it's not with production the way that some, just heavily albums are.
Yeah. And it's really not just like you said, it's not super heavily produced. There's a lot of instrumentation on it, but it's not, it feels authentic for whatever that means. And yeah, these guys come across legit. It's not studio produced instrumentation. It's real instrumentation as far as how I interpreted it. Not that I discount the other thing all the time, but I thought there's just with this kind of music, it should probably have some legit instrumentation going on. You know what I mean?
Authenticity, right? Like if you're gonna play folk music, like you better have a certain level of authenticity, and it's all over this. Like it is all over this recording, just that beautiful authenticity. And I think part of that comes through in just how the songs are crafted, because these are really storytelling songs, and so you can kind of get lost in his word, what he's saying. So yeah, dude, it's a great record.
And not that it was like my favorite tune by any means, because it wasn't. But it was a good tune. What the last song, Oliver James, we got a lot of ISO vocals from the lead singer guy. And dude, his ISO vocals, but by that I mean just like purely vocal track, no instrumentation, no, I mean maybe a little bit of reverb, but no real doctoring up. And his voice is really fantastic, and his ISO, that's what is really impressive, is you can find a vocalist where their ISO vocal just sounds good by itself, and his really did there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I was about that myself too, right? Just how kind of ballsy it is to take a record where some tracks you just have layer upon layer of instrumentation and vocal harmonies, and then the balls that it takes to just basically close the album with a largely a cappella track. I mean, it's probably half a cappella or him just kind of slapping the body of a guitar. It's pretty. I will say this though. Yeah. How much Father John Misty did you hear on this record?
Oh man, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was excited to talk about that. I don't hear hardly any Father John Misty, to tell you the truth. But I'm a gigantic Father John. Actually, Father John Misty wasn't on this record, to be clear. He joined the band after the recording of this record. Did you know that?
Yes, so recording, but before the release.
Before the release, but but none of this is him. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. None of them, but in between the time recorded and ditched the original drummer, Father John Misty, and so basically once they toured on this original Father John Misty with the tour and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, Josh Tillman. Are you super versed in Father John Misty?
I'm fairly well versed. Fairly well versed. Yeah, I really. After you get third, now I'm not nearly as familiar with like his third and fourth album, but the first two albums, yeah, like I listen to those albums a lot. Very good.
Which one was the third? Was the third one "I Love You, Honey Bear," or was that the second?
No, I Love You, Honey Bear was the second one, and that
I
album
really
is a real gem.
Dude, oh my god, dude! "I Love You, Honey Bear" is fantastic, and actually, his third one that came out after that is pure comedy. That's worth checking out as well, and it's really good. There's a couple tunes that reach the heights of "I Love You, Honey Bear," but seriously, "I Love You, Honey Bear" just I mean, I would be hard pressed not putting that on this fucking list. To tell you the truth, like I doubt it's on there, but I mean, "I Love You, Honey Bear" is an amazing album. I love every song on that record, and yeah, I mean that's just another reason this list fucking sucks because that's not on there. Maybe it is, and I'll eat my words.
Okay,
I don't know.
So super quick question: light of listening to this and knowing that we still have 3 other Fleet Foxes albums to listen to just based on this snub list, would you put "I Love You, Honey Bear" on the list before any Fleet Foxes album?
I would 100% put "I Love You, Honey Bear" on the list before this album, and I really like this album. And I really liked it a lot, to tell you the truth. But I fucking love "I Love You, Honey Bear." It's like, I mean, I was a diehard Father John Misty for like a year. Like I listened to him a lot, and I would put that on the list before this one, definitely, no doubt, absolutely. But I haven't listened to a lot of the other Fleet Foxes records yet, so maybe we'll get to something that I feel the other way about. I don't know. How about you?
I think that that's fair. They're more interchangeable for me, right? I really do. "I Love You, Honey Bear." Great. It's a great record. And I'm kind of like you. Like I got lost for not as you did. Like I can't say I got lost in that one for a year, but I definitely got lost in that one for a pretty good stretch of time, probably 3 or 4 months. And I really love that album, but enough time with this, and particularly with "Helplessness Blues," which is the second release.
Yeah.
They're more interchangeable for me, you know. So I would take either one of them, but quite I don't any of them are on this list. John, yeah, I think.
Say it one more time, Mike. You kind of cut out there.
Yeah, I was just saying that "I Love You, Honey Bear" and "Sensible Blues" are pretty interchangeable for me, but at the end of the day, I don't think that either one of them are going to be on this list, which is sadly criminal.
Yeah, no, it is. It is criminal. So it sounds like you think "Helplessness Blues" you would put above this Fleet Foxes debut album.
Yeah, for me.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Well, I haven't listened to that one yet, so I'll definitely do that. And just to be clear, I wasn't like necessarily lost in
It'll be good to get
I
to.
Love You. Yeah, I wasn't necessarily lost in I Love You Honey Bear for a year, but I had never delved into Father John Misty's earlier material for at all before I got into I Love You Honey Bear was my first foray into him. So when I listened to him, I listened to the record that came before that, and I started listening to some of the Jay Tillman recordings, and I started listening to some Fleet Foxes, which is what led me to that. But I Love You Honey Bear was the first foray. And then I did get into pure comedy a little bit, and I liked it a lot. It's if you haven't checked out pure comedy, Mike, it's worth checking out. It's worth giving a deep dive to. But I can't say anything about anything that's come after pure comedy, because that's kind of where I stopped with Father John Misty. So, yeah. But okay.
And I don't know that I really spent time.
We're obviously having a little bit of technical difficulties. That's okay. Are you still there, Mike?
I can hear you now. If you can hear, yeah, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yes. Say it again.
Okay. I was going to say technical difficulties rather than this painful as possible. I'll spectacular album for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, a couple of songs. Definitely check out Your Protector. Check out White Winter, Ragged. Will give you a good feel for what this is. And this needs to be on this list. Like I'm support of like you said, like we both said, on Bon Iver and getting rid of him, and I think you guys instead would be better off. And I think it's a better, so.
Yep. No, I agree with you absolutely. And obviously, you guys heard the end of Mike's statement there. But for those of you who couldn't make out the beginning, he recommended that you listen to Your Protector or White Winter Hymnal and Ragged Wood and Tiger Mountain Peasant Song. So listen to one of those, listen to all those, listen to this whole record, and this definitely should be replacing Bon Iver on the list. So this is a serious snub, serious oversight. We're not sure how this happened. So anyways, like we said, next week we'll be delving in to a new snub. We're going to be doing a new snub bonus episode each week going forward that will go along with our normal episode. So you can look for this next week. We'll be live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, hopefully Twitter, going forward every week from now on. Please send us a voice message and we'll play it on our podcast. That link is anchor.fm/thislistsucks. Please send us an email at thislistsucks@gmail.com and reach out to us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, soon to be Twitter. And we'll see you guys next week. So thank you so much for tuning in. Go listen to Fleet Foxes. All right. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
This sucks. This sucks. This sucks.